Maitreya Uvacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabdagocharaha Pratyachashtatma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira Maitreya Uvacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabdagocharaha Pratyachashtatma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira Maitreya Uvacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabdagocharaha Shtadma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira Maitreya Uvacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabdagocharaha Pratyachashtatma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira. Ladies. Maitreya Uvacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabda Gocharaha Pratyachastatma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira Maitreya Vacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabda Gocharaha Pratyachastatma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira Maitreya Vacha Saprahasya Mahabaho Bhagavan Shabda Gocharaha Pratyachashtatma Bhudevan Prinan Ruchiraya Gira Maitreya Uvacha Maitreya said, Saha, he, Prahasya, smiling, Mahabaho, O mighty armed Vidura, Bhagavan, the possessor of all opulences, Shabdagocharaha, who is understood by transcendental sound, transcendental sound vibration, Pratyachashta, replied, Atmabhu, Lord Brahma, Devan, the demigods, Prinan, satisfying, Ruchiraya, with sweet, Gira, words. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Maitreya said, thus Lord Brahma, who is understood by transcendental vibration, tried to satisfy the demigods, being pleased with their words of prayer. Please repeat. Sri Maitreya said, thus Lord Brahma, who is understood by transcendental vibration, tried to satisfy the demigods, being pleased with their words of prayer. Purport. Brahma could understand the misdeeds of deity, and therefore he smiled at the whole situation. He replied to the demigods present there in words they could understand. Text 12. Brahmo vacha manasame sutta yusmat purvaja sanakadayaha chiror vihayasa lokal lokeshu vigatas priyaha. Lord Brahma said, my four sons, Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara, who were born from my mind, are your predecessors. Sometimes they travel throughout the material and spiritual skies without any definite desire. When we speak of desire, we refer to desire for material sense gratification. Saintly persons like Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara have no material desire, but sometimes they travel all over the universe out of their own accord to preach devotional service. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So in these verses, text 10 as well, we're supposed to speak on. As a fuel overlights a fire, so the embryo created by the semen of Kashyap in the womb of Diti is called complete darkness throughout the universe. The darkness throughout the universe explained is being caused by this embryo. So the Padma Purana says that one should always remember Lord Vishnu, Krishna, and one should never forget him, and that all the rules and regulations of the Shastras, all the regulations of Bhakti Yoga process, they should all be servants of this principle. Rupa Goswami also says that one should follow all the rules and regulations, but he should understand, she should understand why they're following these rules and regulations. And Padma Purana gives that. Ultimately, all these rules and regulations that we're following are the servants of this principle that we should always be able to remember Krishna somehow or another. Krishna says in Gita to meditate on his personal form. Jamma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvada taktvadeham puna jamaneti mameti sojana. He says, one who understands that his birth, all his activities are all transcendental. They're not of this world, they're not due to some response of karma. Krishna doesn't have any karma. He's not forced to come. They're all transcendental activities, and one understands that, then he can return to the spiritual abode. And as well as that, Krishna gives in Gita many other ways to remember him. He's the light of the sun, he's the ultimate source of all light. He's among fishes, he's the shark. All of these different things we can use to remember Krishna, and these in our day-to-day activities. We may be, going through the world doing so many things, and we can see maybe we're going to Coles, we're going to buy some things. So personally, we can remember Krishna, that this is our service, we're buying Krishna. Also, among owners of wealth, he is Kuvera, something like that. Among keepers of wealth or something. What is that one? He says that among wealthy persons, something like that, he's Kuvera. We can think of the wealth as Krishna is that wealth. He's the ultimate source of all the wealth that we're using, that everybody's getting. We see some powerful person in human society, we can think of Krishna, that ability. Krishna is the ability in humans, right? Among human beings, he's the monarch, he's the power. So if somebody is the executive head of a country or a state or anything like that, they're getting that power from Krishna. We can remember Krishna like that. In so many different ways we can remember Krishna. So the Padma Purana says we should always remember Krishna, and also Vishmartavyo Nakayichit, we should not forget Krishna. And so this forgetting Krishna, this is from this darkness. So we can see the darkness throughout the universe is being spread by the extreme asuric, tamasic nature of these personalities, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And so in Krishna consciousness, we have to simultaneously, we have to cultivate the light, and we have to keep away from the darkness. Tamasi ma jyotirgama, there's also a Vedic aphorism given there. Tamasi ma, don't go into tamas, don't go keep out of the darkness. Jyotirgama, go to the light. Many other places given, especially in Ishopanishad verse 11, that we have to simultaneously be careful of the darkness, stay away from the darkness. Also in Bhagavatam, the last seed sloka there, talking about worshipping Krishna directly and indirectly, Srila Prabhupada basically says that this indirect worship, so all of the indirect activities that are not directly hearing, chanting, remembering, all these other indirect activities, they are what you shouldn't do, what you have to be careful of in this material world. You simultaneously have to be careful of the darkness, because it's a very powerful force. Mode of ignorance is a very powerful force. And just like you can think, how long does it take for just a normal, husband and wife in normal life? How long does it take to build the trust of a 20-year marriage? How long does it take? It takes 20 years. How long does it take to break that trust? In a second, right? So we can see that this mode of ignorance, the darkness, the breaking potency of the material energy is very, very strong. But we can also understand that it doesn't have any strength to actually create anything good. So it's just something we have to be careful of. You have to avoid it. But it's very, very strong. In Gita, Krishna gives something like, when he's talking about divine and demoniac nature, I didn't look up, but it's something like 6 good qualities and something like, I don't know, somebody knows? 13 or something negative qualities? There's a lot more. Or no, the other way around. There's a lot of good qualities, but there's only 6 negative qualities that can overcome any of those. So these negative qualities, Govinda, why don't you put that book down and come listen to this? He's in Premier's reading challenge, so he's got to read lots of books. It's good. good for his reading. But he can hear Bhagavatam. Govinda, come. It's an interesting class. His back's hurting already. Wow. I thought it only happened once you're 50. My back's really. Okay, so anyway, I digress. So this darkness is spreading. So sometimes we hear the question, how can this darkness spread? Isn't darkness just the absence of light? Yes, in one sense, darkness is just the absence of light. So, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Hai Andhakara. Without Krishna, there is Maya. Maya is just the absence of Krishna, the absence of Supreme Lord. Lord Brahma also says in those seed slokas of Bhagavatam, he says that whatever you think as separate from the Lord, that just reacts to just confuse you, just to make a show, just to make an ignorance. So this is the essence of Maya is given there by Lord Brahma, is actually seeing that something is separate from the energy of Krishna. This is darkness. So when great demons, they have that potency of forgetting Krishna. It's like a potency. They bring so much forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord by their extremely harsh qualities that everybody else then also forgets. Oh, there is no God. No, this is the real person. We have to worship this person. So this is the effect of great demons and what they can do in the world. Lord Brahma, when he's told, he smiled. He smiled. He could understand what was happening. And then he replied to them. And he says here that these Lokisha Vigata Spriha, these four Kumaras, they're traveling. So the four Kumaras, they have travel. They do travel, they do things. They don't just sit around doing nothing. But the difference is that they're traveling not for material sense gratification, Srila Prabhupada's saying here. Saintly persons like the four Kumaras have no material desire, but sometimes they travel all over the universe out of their own accord to preach devotional service, to preach bhakti yoga. So this is the perfection that we are working towards, that everything we do, if we travel, if we go somewhere, if we're speaking to people, if we're doing things, it's only for Krishna's service. So at our stage, there's some mix. We have some material needs, we have some material identification, at the same time we want to serve Krishna, right? So together those two things are going on. But gradually, as we go through life, Prabhupada said we should mold our life in such a way that we can remember Krishna at every moment. So we try to mold our life such that everything we do is somehow connected to Krishna, with our occupation, with our family, with our possessions, with our mental activities, with our physical activities. How is this connected to Krishna? Okay, this is so we can see here that the impersonal idea, or the Buddhist idea of perfection, is a kind of a nothing activity. You don't engage with the material world, and when you don't have any desire to engage, when you don't have any desire to do anything, then you're perfect, nirvana. The Vaishnava conception of spiritual perfection is different. This conception of spiritual perfection means that the person is very active. They're doing so many things, but they have no material desire. How is that possible? Because there's a third person. There's a transcendental Lord. And when one serves him in transcendental activities, then externally looks like he's doing the same as everybody else, right? Looks like he's walking, he's doing this, he's traveling, or she's going here, doing that, looking after children, having an occupation, doing so many things. But internally, when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he instructed Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, in the beginning he told him, just go back to your household life. He was son of a very rich Govardhana, Hiranyamajumda. He was the son of their son, and he was very rich, huge landholders, like basically kings of that time, or huge business people of this time with huge fabulous wealth. But he just wanted to go and serve Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said to him, you should be like the mentality of a married woman who has a paramour. the para-amor, right? Amor is French, isn't it? French for love. Para-amor, another, again, and has another lover, right? But she's doing her household duties very well. You might think, why she has this other person? Of course, nowadays, it's hard for us to understand this, like, oh, just leave and go off with the guy. But when, society was very, very, marriage, all these things was very, very serious business, very controlled. And so in that kind of society, something's hidden, but the lady's thinking, oh, okay, I better do my household duties very nicely so nobody suspects that actually my heart is somewhere else. So she's doing everything externally, but internally she's thinking of someone else. Lord Chaitanya gave this example. This is how we should be with Krishna. Right? We should do our duties very nicely externally. Everything we do, we pay our taxes, we do our job properly, we don't cause disturbance for other people. But at the same time, internally we're thinking, Krishna is my true lover. He's my true Lord. He's my true beloved. He's the one who I love, or I'm developing my love, or I want to love him. So I'm developing that desire to love him, whatever stage we're at. But this is the very nice example given by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu in instruction to Raghunath Goswami. That's a good introduction to the second part of today's class, which is talking about very exalted devotee of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, namely Srila Ramananda Roy. Srila Ramananda Roy ki jai. So Srila Ramananda Roy, he was, as I said, a great devotee. He was a very intimate servant, one of the very few intimate servants, Swarup Damodar Ramananda Roy, of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And actually, in the historical sequence of events of the Leela, Sri Chaitanya Leela, when Lord Chaitanya came to Puri, and we know the story, most of you know the story, that when Lord Chaitanya came to Puri, just before they got to Puri, Lord Nityananda had had enough of all of this dressing up as a sannyasi and having the staff and everything. So when Lord Chaitanya wasn't looking, he broke the staff in 3 pieces, threw it in the river. That river come to be known now as the Danda Bhanga Nadi, the river where the danda was broken. Of course, Lord Nityananda is in the ecstatic mood of Sri Balaram, the associate of the Lord in Vrindavan, and in his ecstatic pastimes he was exhibiting this leela of some displeasure at the Lord taking this very official post of a sannyasi, etc. So of course when Lord Chaitanya came back, he expressed displeasure. What have you done? I brought all you people here, and now my only possession was this sannyas danda. And now you've broken this danda. And Lord Nityananda was trying to say that you were in ecstasy and you fell on me and broke the danda. He was trying to make a story. Kids don't listen to this part of the pastime. You shouldn't really make up stories to parent stuff. But anyway, sometimes it's a good option. But Lord Chaitanya wasn't having any of it. He said, no. He said, okay, I'm so upset, you've broken my danda, this is my only possession, so I'm going to go on to Puri. You can go before me or after, but I don't want to walk with you guys now. So all the devotees said, all right, Lord, we understand. You go ahead. No, we're only some few kilometers, not far from Puri. I said, you go ahead and we'll follow. So, due to this Leela, Lord Chaitanya ended up being in Puri by himself into the Jagannath temple. He saw Lord Jagannath. So, of course, he was completely overcome with ecstasy. We know, Shri Radhara Bhavalana Chaitanya Avatar, Yugadama Nama Prema Kaila Prachaya. Lord Chaitanya has come to exhibit the to display, to establish the Sankirtan movement, but also he's come for his internal reason to experience the love of Srimati Radharani, what her love is for Krishna. So he's experiencing that love right there in front of Lord Jagannath, and of course he goes into his Mahabhav, complete spiritual ecstasy, loses external consciousness, and all the all the security guards and so forth come up. Hey, what's this guy doing? But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the head of the temple, and he could understand that this isn't just a normal personality. So he said, "No, take him to my house." He checked. He puts on cotton swab. He could see he was still breathing, but he was in like an inert state. So you could understand. He'd read many, very learned scholar. So anyway, it goes on like that, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was playing the part of a, impersonalist, saying that the impersonal activities of the impersonal understanding of the Lord is superior, and so many things like that. Eventually, Lord Caitanya changed his mind, right, and introduced him to the beauty of bhakti. In this Leela, of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is Brihaspati, so there's all kinds of layers to these Leelas. So eventually, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became such a great devotee that we know that there's one instance where he was quoting one verse. What is that verse? Tattenu kampam susamikshamanu bunjana evatmikritam vipakam rid vag vabhubi vidadhan namaste jivetiyo mukti pade sadaya bhak. And instead of saying mukti pade, he put bhakti pade. And Lord Chaitanya inquired, my dear Bhattacharya, this is very nice. You're quoting this verse, but I understand the sentiment. But at the same time, we can't change the Shastra. Shastric verse is mukti pade sadaya bhak. Meaning that Lord Chaitanya, meaning that Sri Krishna Bhagavan is the person at whose feet all forms of liberation reside eternally. Mukti pade sadaya bhak. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya responded that, my dear Lord, I hear you. Still, at the same time, after spending so many years studying, learning about mukti and trying to become all staunch and give up any kind of ideas of relationship and all these kind of things, and when my heart has been awakened, now my heart has been awakened due to your mercy, to the beauty and the love and the sweetness and the eternal, the eternality of existence, of eternally increasing spiritual relationship. But now my mind is awakened to that. Just the word mukti gives like a kind of, I guess in today's parlance he would say, it triggers me. He said, I'm triggered by the word mukti, so I can't even use the word. So Lord Chaitanya said, well, that's very nice, but still, you shouldn't change your satra. But he appreciated the sentiment very, very much. And of course, we know that the impersonalist philosophers, sometimes they're called smarta brahmanas, that they follow the smriti shastras, only the very strict, and it's mostly about rules and regulations. Because if you take the personality of Krishna out of the equation, you only have two things. You only have the soul and the material energy. Right? So the spiritual advancement then becomes actually an interaction with material energy. The third person is taken out. The Lord is taken out. So therefore the rules and regulations are very important. You must wake at this time, chant this mantra and stay free from the modes, and then you'll get to this liberated platform, all this. It's all about that. Once Lord Chaitanya was coming, he'd just been to Mangalati, and Mangalati is very wonderful experience. All those who know, who come to Mangalati, we try to come as much as possible. But it's a very special experience. And Lord Chaitanya had just been to Mangalati, and he'd brought some sweets back from Mangalati. We bring some sweets from Mangalati sometimes for the kids, and they're very happy about that. So everybody likes some Mangalati sweets. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is no, what do you call, exception. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya brought these sweets, and he was actually outside the room, and he just knocked on the door. He said, Sarvabhauma, Sarvabhauma, we've just been to Mangaladiya. I have some Mahaprasadam from the Lord. And Sarvabhauma was still in the bed. And he said, come, come. So he sat up in his bed, and by the time he sat up, Lord Chaitanya was there. He was in his room. And he said, give me the Mahaprasad. And he took it, and right there in the bed with all his, I don't know if he was wearing pajamas or not, but anyway, with his night clothes on in the bed, he just took the prasadam. And Lord Chaitanya said, oh, you were so, careful about the rules and regulations and this and that, everything. And now you're just eating in the bed without washing yourself, without following any principles. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the Shastras explain that honoring Mahaprasadam should not be put off for anything. It should be done straight away. In other words, the service of the Lord transcends the regulations. Of course, it's done within the regulations. It's not speculative. It's not changed. But when the service of the Lord requires, that is a high principle. And so Lord Chaitanya was very, very happy at this explanation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So anyway, we've gone on a bit of a tangent there about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but it's okay, it's all absolute. But what I wanted to say was that once Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Lord Chaitanya were meeting, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to Lord Chaitanya that you're going to South India, and there is a person there called Ramananda Roy. And he explained that when he was in the impersonal viewpoint of the world, he thought that Ramananda Roy was just sort of a bit of a sentimental person. He could say, oh, this person is learned in Shastra, but I can't really understand what he's talking about Krishna and Vrindavan and these things. I don't know. So he couldn't read, but he said to Lord Chaitanya that now you have explained bhakti to me, I can understand that he is a great bhakta. He's a great devotee, right? And he said, you should meet him. You must meet him when you go to South India. So Lord Chaitanya did do that, and he met Ramananda Roy on the bank of the Govardhana river at Vidyanagar. And Ramananda Roy was the Prime Minister. He's a great, super high level in the government. This is, you can even read on Wikipedia if you want about the Pandya kings from Orissa of this time, of the 15th century, that they had a huge empire going from Orissa, the borders of Bengal, all the way down to Orissa, all the way through into South India. It's actually written there, even in the Wikipedia, that one of the reasons the empire fell apart was that Prataparudra Maharaj became so dedicated to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then his son also became so dedicated to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the spiritual activities that they lost all their passion and aggression for conquering the nearby kings. And that was the beginning of the downfall of their empire. So all of this this is historical records. You can confirm with other sources exactly what was happening here. So Ramananda Roy was looking after that whole part of the kingdom from Maharaj Prataparudra. But he was a great devotee, right? We've said, Lord Chaitanya said, you perform your activities, but at the same time in your heart you're thinking of Krishna, of developing your Krishna consciousness. It's going on, even though externally the other activities are going on. So in this way he was doing this, managing very nicely, but internally he was developing, and of course he was already an exalted, liberated devotee, Ramananda Roy. And he instructed, Lord Chaitanya asked him about the meaning of life, and there's a whole section of Chaitanya Caritamrita where he begins with, there's so many people, there's so many animals and different species, but then the human form is the best, and within that Varnashram is perfection. Beyond Varnashram, he goes like this right up to ecstatic love of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. And he explains there sorry, some problem here. He explains there that Lord Chaitanya is the one making him talk. He says, you're listening, but actually I'm just vibrating, but you're the one speaking. So many wonderful pastimes happened with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, and one of those pastimes is the pastime of Pradyumna Mishra, who came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri and said, please instruct me about Krishna consciousness. So Lord Chaitanya told him, you should go and hear from Ramananda Roy. Right? He is the one who can actually tell you about Krishna consciousness, about the activities of Krishna. Right? So Pradyumna Mishra went there, and he heard from the servant that Ramananda Roy was preparing some of the Devyadasis, the dancers for Lord Jagannath, instructing them in all the different mudras and everything like that, even helping them decorate their bodies properly for the Lord, exactly like the pastimes of the gopis, right? How they would dance for Krishna and so forth, right? So he came back, and Ramananda Roy didn't even know he was there. The servant hadn't told him. But then he came out and he said, oh, you're here. Oh, I'm so sorry. And Pradyumna said, that's all right, it's late now. I'll go now. I can come another time. So then he went, and Lord Chaitanya said, this is where we pick up the story here. The next day, when Pradyumna Mishra arrived in the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord inquired, have you heard talks about Krishna from Sri Ramananda Roy? And Pradyumna Mishra described the activities that he'd heard, what he was doing, making this play, making this dance. And after hearing these activities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to speak. He explained that he considers himself very renounced, but even if he hears the name of a woman, he feels changes in his mind and body. Therefore, who cannot remain unmoved by the sight of a woman, he's saying. It's very difficult. But here, these topics of Ramananda Roy, they're so wonderful and so uncommon that they should not be spoken. So we're not going to speak that much about this, because Lord Chaitanya said, you should hear about them, but at the same time understand they shouldn't really be spoken about. Because people will misunderstand these topics. But in the beginning, there's one verse here that Sri Ramananda Roy used to act in that way because he thought of himself in his original position as a maidservant of the gopis. Thus, although externally he appeared to be a man, internally, in his original spiritual position, he considered himself a maidservant and considered the two girls as gopis. So, at some point in time, you can read more details about this lila. But this is the same principle, just taken to the complete highest extent. That externally we perform all activities properly, but internally we are developing our Krishna consciousness. And this is the most elevated example of this, the perfection of this, is that Sri Ramananda Roy, although he was externally a man, although externally he appeared to be a man, internally he identified himself as a servant of the gopis. Lord Chaitanya said this, Gopi Bhattu Pada Kamaleo Dasa Dasa Anudasa. So I'll just read one. Lord Chaitanya said that he said this prerogative of what he's doing is basically his prerogative, but I can understand from the Vedas. He says that when one hears or describes with great faith the pastimes of Lord Krishna, such as his rasa dance with the gopis, the disease of lusty desires in his heart and the agitation caused by the three modes of material nature are immediately nullified, and he becomes sober and silent. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati saying that when a pure Vaishnava speaks on Srimad Bhagavatam and another pure Vaishnava hears Srimad Bhagavatam from such a realized soul, both of them live in the transcendental world, where the contamination of the modes of material nature cannot touch them. Freed from the contamination of the modes of nature, the speaker and hearer are fixed in a transcendental mentality, knowing that their position on the transcendental platform is to serve the Supreme Lord. The class known as Prakrita Sahajya, who consider the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna something like the behavior between a man and a woman in the material field, artificially think that hearing this Rasa Leela will help them by diminishing the lusty desires of their diseased hearts. But because they do not follow the regulated principles, but instead violate even ordinary morals, their contemplation of Rasa Leela is a futile attempt, which sometimes results in them imitating the dealings of the gopis and Lord Krishna. So to forbid such habits of the Prakrita Sahajyas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has excluded their material intelligence by using the word Vishvas or faith. Srila Sukadeva Goswami says in Bhagavatam 10:33-31, certainly one who is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead should never, even within his mind, imitate the activities of the transcendental Rasa Leela of Krishna. If out of ignorance one does so, he will be destroyed, just as if he were to imitate Lord Shiva, who drank poison produced from the ocean. So extremely strong warning words given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami himself, the speaker of Bhagavatam, that the devotees never imitate this, even in their minds. In Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada writes about Rasa Leela pastimes, and he gives extensive purport, extensive explanation that the relationship between Krishna and the gopis is like the relationship between the hand and the shadow. The shadow moves with the hand. It's one energy. It's not Krishna enjoying some other energy. It's his own energy. And it's a Leela. It's his internal energy. Of course, in the beginning stages, we're all, at least personally, very beginning stages, we're trying to get some activities of anatta nivritti, getting rid of the anattas in our heart and trying to come to the level of nishta, trying to become fixed in service that stays and doesn't become affected by the material influence. We're a long way from this level. We have to come to nishta, become fixed. From there, develops some nishta, then some, after fixed, then we get some ruchi, some taste, then some attachment, like this, then some emotion actually was. So we're on this path. At the same time, the acharyas have given these books, Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita. Srila Prabhupada translated the whole Chaitanya Caritamrita. Of course, this is the later parts, Antya Leela, which we need to have fully understood Bhagavad Gita, really understood the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, well, at least read it, and then we can move into these topics. But Srila Prabhupada has given teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which gives the essence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. And with proper understanding, we can properly understand, at least in theory, we can hear about these things with these warnings very clear in our mind, right? With these warnings very clear in our mind that the devotee, even in their mind, they never consider taking this position of that. Enjoy it. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He is the Purusha. And the devotees love to be serving, the servant of Radha and Krishna's love. This is the perfection, and is being very wonderfully explained here in the by the pastimes of Ramananda Roy, and just say that when Pradyumna Mishra went back the next day to speak with Ramananda Roy and Pradyumna Mishra spoke all day, and they were both in a complete ecstatic, merged in the spiritual world, in the pastimes of the Lord, hearing, remembering. And they didn't even realize that the sun had gone down, so the servant had to come and tell. So then when he went back, Pradyumna Mishra went back to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, that evening he said, have you heard about topics about Krishna? He asked him. Pradyumna Mishra said, "My dear Lord, you have made me extremely obliged to you because you have drowned me in a nectarian ocean of talks about Krishna. I cannot properly describe the discourses of Ramananda Roy, for he is not an ordinary human being. He is fully absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord. There is one other thing," Ramananda Roy said to me. He said, "Do not consider me the speaker in these talks about Krishna. Whatever I speak is personally spoken by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like a stringed instrument, I vibrate whatever he causes me to speak. In this way, the Lord speaks through my mouth to preach the cult of Krishna consciousness within the world. Who will understand the pastime of the Lord? What I've heard from Ramananda Roy is like a nectarian ocean of discourses about Krishna. Even the demigods, beginning from Lord Brahma, cannot understand all these topics. My dear Lord, you have made me drink this transcendental nectar of Krishna Katha. Therefore, I am sold to your lotus feet, life after life." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Ramananda Roy is a source of all humility. Therefore, he has attributed his own words to another's intelligence. This is a natural characteristic. This is a natural characteristic of those advanced in devotional service. They do not personally speak of their own good qualities. I have described but a fraction of the transcendental attributes of Ramananda Roy as revealed when he instructed Pradyumna Mishra." So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami talking again, saying that's only a fraction he's described. Although Ramananda Roy was a householder, he was not under the control of the 6 kinds of bodily change. What are they? 6 kinds of bodily change. All living beings have the 6 kinds of bodily change. Birth, growth, maintenance, producing offspring, old age and death. Right? He's not under the control of these changes. Although apparently a pounds and shilling man, he advised even persons in the renounced order. To demonstrate the transcendental attributes of Ramananda Roy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Pradyumna Mishra to hear discourses about Krishna. And this is a very wonderful verse. Please listen very carefully. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, knows very well how to demonstrate the qualities of his devotees. Therefore, acting like an artistic painter, he does so in various ways and considers this his personal profit. Yet there is another characteristic of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. O devotees, listen carefully to how he manifests his opulence and characteristics, although they are exceptionally deep. So now we're getting into how. What is that verse that describes that the Lord, he comes in Kali Yuga with weapons, but those weapons are not the bow, they're not the spear, they're his associates and companion, right? Krishna Vanam Tvisha Krishnam Sangha Pangastra Parshadam Jagya Sankirtane Praya Yajanti Sumedasa. Krishna Vanam Tvisha Sangha Opanga Astra Parshadam. So this is describing how he's used these weapons of his associates to vanquish the false pride of so-called renunciates and learned scholars. He spreads real religious principles, even through a Sudra, or low-born 4th-class man. He preached about devotional service by making Ramananda Roy, a Grihasta born in a low family, the speaker. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, the exalted Brahman sannyasi, and Pradyumna Mishra, the purified Brahmana, both became the hearers of Ramananda Roy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited the glories of the holy name of the Lord through Haridas Thakur, who was born in a Mohammedan family. Similarly, he exhibited the essence of devotional service through Sanatana Goswami, who had almost been converted into a Mohammedan. The Lord also fully exhibited the ecstatic love and transcendental pastimes of Vrindavan through Srila Rupa Goswami. Considering all this, who can understand the deep plans of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? The activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are just like an ocean of nectar. Even a drop of this ocean can inundate all the 3 worlds. O devotees, relish daily the nectar of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita and the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. For by doing so one can merge in the transcendental bliss and full knowledge of devotional service. Thus Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accompanied by his associates, his pure devotees, enjoyed transcendental bliss in Jagannath Puri, Nilachala, preaching the bhakti cult in many ways. Shri Ramananda Raya ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We have a few minutes if there's any quick question or comment. Otherwise, okay? Jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention that. Yeah, he's Arjuna. So there's Arjuna, the Pandava, and then Arjuna Sakha, a cowherd friends of Krishna. So he's combined that form, and he's also Vishaka. So when Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Radharani, he's the combined. So when he was in the mood of Radharani, then Ramananda Roy would be like Vishaka, consoling him. Yes, he's going to come, we can meet Krishna, all these different things like that. So combine those forms according to the mood the Lord was in. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.